Welcome back to the Red Wings Report with Strings and Pucks. This is Jeremy Laura, and of course we've got Addie in studio. She's going to hang out today. Pro Hockey Rumors did a write-up on Aaron Ekblad, and apparently if he'd reached the market, Detroit was going to pay a premium to try to get him in on what a max term could have been. Obviously he never hit market. We don't know the numbers because the negotiations never happened. Of course, that would have made sense to try to bring Ekblad in. That would have solved a major gap. But as an aside to the article, there was just a brief mention that the high-end free agents do not want to come to Detroit. That was just kind of laid out plainly. This is a problem. We've seen now people who have a choice where Detroit's made an offer decide not to come here. And there's no better case than Jacob Trouba. That debacle last year should have been more of an eye-opener and something that we're talking about more, but it's kind of gone in the wind. The fact of it is that with at least 2 attempts, Detroit put everything on the table they could, and he said no. The first time he found out through social media, said the right things, saying they were in New York for a reason. His wife was in nursing school. She still had time left, and they didn't want to go. But when it came down to the Rangers essentially saying they were going to waive him, he gave them a list of teams, and Detroit wasn't on it. He went to Anaheim. You had Trouba, who has Michigan ties, tell Detroit no twice last season. He's not coming here. The rebuild has been painful, right? The team had to be torn all the way to the ground because fans and the office wanted to hold on to the playoff streak, 25-year postseason streak, 4 Stanley Cups in that time. Obviously, they held on way too long to start over, and the first-round drafting was atrocious. You're at a point now where free agents that have an opportunity don't want to come here. They just don't want to come. Ehlers, I'm sure Detroit talked to them. They were listed as one of the teams that was really heavily interested. And as you started to see this happen, Andre Miller, they were supposed to have put together a package for him, but did he tell his agent, no, I'm not going to extend there? Detroit has to pull out of this tailspin. As we're going into this season, and all I can talk about as far as improvement is someone overperforming internally right now. We need a 19, 20-year-old, 21-year-old to break out who's getting paid, essentially league minimum or their ELC. They need to break out, take someone's job for this team to succeed. In a professional sports world, you do not want to enter the season with that many gaps in your game, especially in this division. So the question is, what is it about Detroit that's the biggest issue? Is it just the team's so bad nobody wants to be here? The environment's so bad no one wants to be here? Or the murmur, do players have trouble dealing with Steve Yzerman and management? And I don't know. Honestly, I've not heard anything to say that, because the team had John Gibson, who could have nixed the deal with Anaheim to come here, and had plenty of suitors. He accepted the deal to come. He's going to play in Detroit. Gibson may be the saving grace of this summer with whatever success they have. So he was willing to come, but a litany of guys that they were rumored to be working with chose to go somewhere else. And I have to think they were at least competitive on the financial side of it. So I would love to hear from you the comments. What is keeping free agents from coming here? Is it that the team's bad and it just has to get better before someone wants to come here? Or is it that there's an issue with the personnel, and in particular with the general manager? Is there any hint that there's a toxicity in relationships between the front office and the players, where players don't want to be here, who have the option to say no? They're going to say no. And that's also going to make it more expensive for Detroit to require anyone, because once you're desperate, people can just hold out and ask for more. last season, any trade Detroit wanted to make, one of the first names rumored to have been brought up was Marco Casper. Well, he's their number 2 center now, and potentially their number 1 center going forward, unless something else happens. The team's been rumored to be in talks to get Marco Rossi. I don't know what substance there is to that, but at this point, anyone who would have to extend and have a choice, they're going to have to change the perception of being here, because you're not attracting free agents. And even someone like Pro Hockey Rumors is just writing, free agents don't want to go there. This is not good, and this is going to be a real hindrance unless the drafting turns out really good. And we're going to find out in the next year or two if Troy Augustine decides to be a Detroit Red Wing. That's getting downplayed like crazy, and I hope it's an easy switch. He's going into his 3rd year at State. If he goes for a 4th, if he doesn't sign after this year, they have to consider trading his rights. Otherwise, you're going to look at losing him for nothing. And if you got that kind of leverage as a player, I don't know why you don't use it. So anyway, that's kind of the more stressful issue. Let me know your thoughts on why UFAs don't want to be here right now.